What's going on, everybody? My name is Isaac Hongos, and in this video we're going to be going over the specs of the Canon R5, my thoughts on it, and the true price of the Canon R5 if you're switching systems or you're upgrading from your crop sensor camera. I think it's really important to take this into fact because this camera feels like a Canon 5D Mark II moment where it just completely changes the entire landscape. So let's go over the specs, and I think they're incredible for video. It gave us uncropped 8K 24p 30p RAW. On top of that, it gave us Canon Log H.265 or HDR PQ H.265 with full dual pixel RAW. That's great. There is no asterisk. My only concern is that processors might heat up and what is the time limit on this, but we'll get into some of the things that Canon didn't cover during their announcement. It also gave us 4.2.2 at a 10-bit rate. There's also 4K at 120 frames per second built-in IBIS, which is like the first for the mirrorless system. It also gave us 12 frames per second mechanical shutter, and to top it all off, in order to handle everything that we asked for in video, it's going to give us dual card slots, your traditional UHS-II SD cards, and they switched over from regular CF cards to CFexpress. That's going to ring you up a pretty penny. Let's talk about some of the complaints that people are going to have. It's going to be a minority of people. The biggest concern is the recording limit. What is the recording limit at 8K? Who's going to be using 8K? Because, I've always said this, like, who can truly watch 8K on their laptop, on their TV, the amount of bandwidth? I think 10 minutes would be an adequate amount to get your shot, maybe even 7 without it overheating. And although we think of Sony having an overheating issue a lot of the times, Canon also has had its overheating issues, but I think that Canon has introduced new process for this. I believe Panasonic needed 2 processors in order to do this, and Canon has done it with 1. I am completely fine with the limitation of it because they gave us what we wanted without asterisk. The audio jack, will it have both monitoring, mini HDMI, all these ports? They didn't mention them too much. I think we were really focused on that, but knowing that this is going to be the replacement for the 5D series, the legendary series, I'm pretty sure it's going to have both monitoring and the traditional jack for your external mic like your Rhodes. I think another thing that there was no mention about was photo features. What's the burst rate? How has the dynamic range improved over time, etc., etc. What Canon, in my personal opinion, is trying to do is fuse the best of both worlds, mirrorless and DSLR. Whatever aspects you think make that system great, they're trying to fuse them together to make this baby. Canon has tried this in the past. They've succeeded in some ways and failed in others. Failures can be attributed to many things, software, hardware, processing problems, but I think they've gone through enough failures to create this product. As a photographer, I started off being a photographer first. I'm completely fine with them skimping over, because if this is going to be the replacement to the legendary 5D series, then the dynamic range, the autofocus, everything is just going to be great. And I don't just think that for the Canon systems, I think it's true for every system because of the progression of technology. Whatever camera you get within the past 5 years, everything's going to be fine if you know your fundamentals. The thing that was on people's minds most likely was the price. If this is the replacement for the 5D series, then it's probably going to start off at $3,700. But because of everything that we asked, I wouldn't be surprised if this camera went up to $4,300. On top of that, they're still trying to sell their 1DX Mark IIIs. So the biggest tease, though, was the fact that there was no release date. And there are a lot of rumors that go in every way, shape, and form that say it's going to be shipped at the end of May, at the end of July, at the end of June, whatever you think it's going to be released. But the biggest thing that we should be happy about is that they gave us what they wanted, and now there's very little to complain about. But now let's move on to the real cost, especially if you're jumping from another system or you're growing up from your crop sensor to this big boy Canon R5. Let's talk about hypotheticals, and I think this is really important to take in mind when you're switching systems, whether that be from your crop sensor, the Fujis, the Sonys, whatever, because now you're going to need a really great computer, really fast cards, everything that makes your workflow in order to get the most out of this camera. Let's start off with a hypothetical that this camera is $3,500. On top of that, if you're switching systems, you're going to need a 24-70 because it's probably the most versatile lens and the best bang for your buck. That's going to run you another $2,300. CFexpress cards, you're going to need a good medium at 128 gigabytes, 2 of those just for redundancy. That's going to run you another $500. If you're shooting photo, it's really important to mirror your stuff. So you're going to need 2 128 gigabyte cards from SanDisk at $400 for both. On top of that, because you're doing video, you're going to need some sort of mic. And you're going to probably buy the most common one, which is a Rode Video Mic Pro. That's going to run you another $300. And if you live in Macland, you're probably going to want a laptop or an iMac Pro. I'm going to play it safe and say you're going to need a 16-inch model that's going to run you another $2,700. So in total, in order to get this up and running, to get the most bang for your buck, to get the most juice, to make sure that you're not dropping frames, to make sure that the 8K is running smoothly, you're going to need $9,700 in order to run this. Now, you might have some stuff already, you might already have a great computer, but if you're starting, you're a beginner, you think you're ready for the big leagues and buying this camera, I think it's really important to take these factors into mind. Will this camera change the landscape of everything? Will companies like Nikon, Sony, and Fuji now have to compete and make something just as good or better? Yes, I think it's going to do that, and I think this is a 5D Mark II moment, an A7 II moment. Yes, I think it's happened. What we asked for, they gave us. At the end, I'm not going to buy this camera because it's too expensive. The system is just crazy, and I do not like being an adopter of first-gen technology, and that's what this is. This is the first in the R5 series, maybe the R5 Mark II. But those are just my thoughts, my opinions. And, just always think about the bigger picture because the technology is more interconnected than ever. Make sure to check out the podcast. I already sort of briefly went over my thoughts when the announcements were first launched the day of. You can buy whatever you want, but again, think about your workflow. You can tweet at me or send me an Anchor message if you want to talk over the podcast. But that's it for now. At the end of the day, I thank you so much for your time and your attention. My name is Hongos, and I'll catch you in the next one.